Are we rolling?
Mm-hmm.
God, he never says action. But so unprofessional.
Action.
Nice. So we're up here, we're finishing up prototyping the new Stealth XX heavies. And I've joked the whole time I'm not the kid I used to be, and throwing these big baits just seems to get harder, even though the equipment gets so much better. But I just wanted to go through real quick. I've seen a ton of videos on the subject, and I've seen the cast done a lot of ways, and I just haven't seen the whole complete package, and especially not just the hows, but the whys and some of the physics behind it. And the reason I want to throw that in is just because it doesn't work the same for everybody, and not every situation is the same, and maybe you want to tweak your cast a little bit one way or the other. And if you understand what's going on, you can kind of make those adjustments as long as you're kind of within the parameters. So there's a very specific cast that all of us who have casted these giant rubber baits for a long time use. People call it the slip cast. I always call it the trebuchet cast, because like I was joking with the guys, I'm a huge fan of antique French armament. Not really, I'm actually a big fan of pumpkin chunkin. But a trebuchet is a catapult-like device, but it really explains the physics of how this cast works. And really, we came to it, most of us came to it by pure fatigue and just coming out here for 10 straight days throwing these giant rubber lures. And eventually your body gets so beat up that you're just trying to find the most efficient way to do it. And in my opinion, this is the most efficient way to do it. And to understand the first thing we got to talk about is a basic physics principle, and that is just the lever and the fulcrum and force. And the idea is the closer anything is to the fulcrum, the less force is required to handle that load. So honestly, the lightest this entire rod reel and bait setup is when I'm holding it exactly straight up and down. That's exactly the weight of the items themselves. Any distance I move it further away, the force increases that is required out of this arm to hold it. So the first thing you want to do is keep everything in tight, always as close to your body as possible. You get your arms out, you get your rod out, you're going to notice that weight increase. And that is important for a couple reasons. First of all, the flight of the lure. And second of all, I got Justin standing in the front of the boat, and I'm trying to swing this great big heavy plastic through here safely. And that really helps doing that. So the idea here is to never lift this bait until you absolutely have to. And once you do, you want to hold it for the shortest possible period of time. So a quick demonstration all the way through it, and then I'll talk about the parts. When I first come in, I'm going to do my figure eight like usual. And then I'm honestly going to get this bait set up exactly where I want it to swing next to me here. So you see I'm angling my rod a little over on this side. I still haven't picked up the weight of that bait. It's still floating in the water, and I have this nice angle going. And then all I have to do is pick it up. And you notice as I pick it up, my rod's straight up and down. It's not way out here, so I don't have that extra leverage on it. It's right next to me. So I'll pick the bait up, and it's just gonna naturally swing right by my body because of where I picked it up out of the water. Really close to me. The reason it's really close is, again, that leverage. If I get it out that way, it's gonna weigh more, and I'm gonna have to exert more force to handle it. So I'm gonna swing it through really close to me, and right when it gets to the apex in the back, I'm simply gonna either pull down with this hand or push up with my other hand. And you can see with almost no effort, I casted that thing 50 feet just in a demonstration. So here it is again, and the important thing is to think about these two arms as two separate things. One can stay static and one can move, or both can move in concert once you get that timing. But really, I can do it really simply. This time I'm gonna keep this arm completely steady. When I get back, all I'm gonna do is pull down on the handle with this arm. Very simple, minimal amount of movement, and that bait's gonna go a long way just with that little flick. I'm exerting almost no energy to do that. The other thing you can do is use this hand to just hold that butt and push with this hand. Now, why do I mention that? Because if you're like me, sometimes this shoulder hurts, sometimes this elbow hurts, sometimes this wrist hurts, and you might want to change up those actions based on how much pain you're in. So if I come through and I hold this hand here steady and I just push with that hand, I can do the same thing and get a nice distance with very, very little effort. The other important thing here is to watch the bait as it comes through. The bait's gonna stay flat, it's gonna come back, and it's gonna come over, and it's always gonna stay flat. There's gonna be no flipping, none of the tails twisting around and getting those hooks. That's gonna cut out a lot of your dog balls. So really simply, bring it back, both arms now, and I just make a nice long cast. I didn't exert at all. I didn't overwork anything. It's a very gentle movement. I'm not pushing hard or overthrowing anything. And I can easily get this near 1 pound lure out there a good 80 feet with minimal effort. And if I really want to bomb it, I can, if I'm feeling good. But I can also just gently flick it out there. And then also, if you can see the flight here, when it gets up there, I am gonna put a little thumb pressure just to flip those tails towards the back and keep it real flat and get a nice splat when that thing hits the water. Mess with that cast a little bit and I guarantee it's gonna make your fall a lot easier.
So the cast that Ben just went over is honestly a cast that I use for everything. I throw my bucktails, topwaters, almost like even bass fishing, throwing an Alabama rig, anything that's big, that's heavy, that tumbles. It really is easier on your body. You're gonna cut down on dog balls, fouled lures, and it's really gonna save a lot. And one thing we've been talking, or save on your body a ton. One thing we've been talking about today is long pauses, and that's just, it's really, really important. One, because the water's cold, and you need to have a couple of trigger points in your retrieve. The second is that you are fishing around a ton of bait now. The Cisco's, the whitefish, they're all in these areas that you're fishing, they're spawning areas, and you want that bait to stand out. And a tumbling, struggling, dying whitefish is the one that the muskies are gonna key in on. And I'm just gonna make a cast, shorten up my cast a little bit here, but obviously you're gonna be casting into shallower water most of the time, bringing it a little bit deeper. And some of these pauses, you know, are extremely exaggerated. And there's two times that there's two main times I like to throw them into the retrieve. One is when you clear that first break line about halfway in, and that's give it a 1, 2, 3, 4, and then start working that bait back. I always give it a couple hard pops up, get it going again. And then the last time is gonna be right by the boat. When you think you're about 10, 15, I think 10, 15 feet away. And again, that's gonna be a 1, 2, 3, 4, and then uprip that bait a few times and then bring it both sides. And hopefully you won't get a nice dog ball like that. And those triggering points are so important for getting these fish to bite. And they're even important enough that I would say that if I'm out and I think I should be getting bites and I'm not getting bit, I'm going to mix more and more and more pauses in, and the colder the water gets, I'm going to get that bait even closer to the bottom. Because again, the water's cold, you're going to have to trigger the fish, and those long pauses are extremely key for that. All right, I'm just going to follow up Ben's little spiel about the slip casts. Me, cast lure far, retrieve, halfway boat, stop, count 3, reel in, stop, count 5, set hook hard, catch musky.